Whakataka te hō ki te uru, whakataka te hō ki te tonga. Kia mā kina kina ki uta, kia mā taratara ki tai. E hi ake ana te atakura, he tio, he huka, he hauhu, tihei Māori ora. Ko Paula Borin tōku ingoa, and welcome everyone to this event. I am a professor of sustainability and technology in the School of Architecture and Planning, and I'm really glad to see all of you here tonight for this Fast Forward organized by Te Pare School of Architecture and Planning. Today's lecture is jointly offered as part of the annual celebrations of the International Design Day, Italian Design Day, and explores the theme of inequalities through insightful discussions and creative perspectives on design, sustainability, and social equity. The organization of this International Italian Design Day event is supported by the Future Cities Research Center at the School of Architecture and Planning, of which I'm the co-founder and director, and by Studio Izzo, a professional art conservation practice based in Auckland, working on a wide range of remedial art conservation treatments to private galleries, museums, and collections. And I want to thank Carolina Izzo, sitting here at the front, who is the managing director and head conservator of Studio Izzo, for the ongoing generosity organizing and supporting this event. Thank you, Carolina. I would also like to take the opportunity to thank the Italian Embassy in Wellington and the Italian Ministry for Culture for giving us the opportunity to expand on the celebrations of the International Italian Design Day. In today's presentation, our guest speakers from ＡKAU and First Light Studio, who will be later better introduced by my colleague here, Professor Andrew Berry, will address how communities are a central factor for the design of our built environment, and how a genuine engagement with communities can lead to successful design solutions, fulfilling community needs and aspirations, but also helping to mend the fractures generated by inequalities. Now, you may wonder why we have New Zealand practices presenting at the International Italian Design Day, why we've got the Italian flag here, and why there was an Italian flag behind me. And the reason is that the International Design Day doesn't only promote the Italian design, it does promote good design. And the concept of good design in general is really the focus we have tonight and this year. So how design can support local communities, and how we can collectively work with communities to produce better design spaces. So we wanted to give the opportunity tonight to those design practices we think are the expression of this approach in Aotearoa, New Zealand. I'm sure you will enjoy the presentations, and I hope you can stay until the end and engage with the question and answer and the panel discussion. And I would like to introduce now Lindsay Jones, Italian Honorary Consul, who will speak more about the International Italian Design Day, and we'll also bring some further greetings from the Italian Ambassador, His Excellency Cristiano Maggiopinto. Thank you, Lindsay, and thank you, everyone.
Buonasera a tutti. Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the Embassy of Italy in Wellington, I'm pleased to welcome you to this evening, which forms part of a worldwide collection of events that celebrate Italian Design Day. And on behalf of the Embassy, I would also like to thank Professor Paola Borin and Cavaliere Carolina Izzo for arranging the inclusion of Italian Design Day within the Fast Forward lecture series organised by the School of Architecture and Design. So what is Italian Design Day? Well, at its core, it is a day that celebrates Italy's extraordinary cultural heritage. Italy is renowned throughout the world for its history, its art, its food, and its natural beauty. But it is also a flag bearer for design in all of its forms and expressions. You know good design when you see it. You can feel it, it doesn't jar, it makes you feel comfortable, it can even make you smile. But good design is not just about aesthetics. It is also about the ability to solve problems. And in Italy, beauty and functionality go hand in hand. Think of the beautiful little Fiat 500 first produced in the 1950s, the timeless Vespa, the ever-practical Tolomeo desk lamp. There are countless examples of everyday objects that in the hands of Italian designers have become icons of design. Indeed, design is the intangible infrastructure of the Made in Italy brand. So it is all this that Italian Design Day celebrates. Every year since 2017 on Italian Design Day, in cities on every continent, Italian ambassadors, consulates, cultural organisations organise or support events that promote Italian design or which see Italy in a leadership role, promoting good design at a local level. And each year there is a theme that reminds us that design and designers, architects and architecture, do not just exist for their own sake, but play an essential role in the betterment of our communities. So, as you've heard, the theme for this year's Italian Design Day is Inequalities, Design for a Better Life. And the presenters this evening have been chosen for their alignment with this theme. I would encourage you to look online to see what has happened on Italian Design Day in other countries, and in Italy, obviously. And I hope you look out for Italian Design Day in the future. So I'll now hand over to our new ambassador, Ambassador Cristiano Maggipinto, who has been in New Zealand for only 2 weeks, who will address you via video message. Enjoy your evening.
Now, in its 9th edition, the Italian Design Day aims to promote Italy's artistic and cultural heritage, the result of a long-standing and refined relationship between history, culture, art and high-quality craftsmanship, whilst highlighting the crucial role of design and architecture in reducing and addressing the growing inequalities that divide humanity and significantly impact daily life in our cities and around the world. The initiatives for Italian Design Day are promoted by the Italian Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation in coordination with the Ministry of Culture, the Association for Industrial Design, the Compasso d'Oro Foundation, Italian Trade Agency, Salone del Mobile, Triennale di Milano, Federlegno Arredo, Alta Gamma Foundation and Confindustria Italia. Inclusion, reducing inequalities and improving collective well-being are the key themes of this edition. This year, the Italian Diplomatic and Consular Network worldwide is honored to celebrate it together with a major cultural institution like Triennale di Milano, aligning with the theme of the upcoming 24th International Exhibition dedicated to inequalities, how to mend the fractures of humanity, scheduled to open in May. Whilst the IDD Day was officially held on February the 12th, the Italian Embassy in Wellington is proud to present a series of inspiring events this week across New Zealand, Christchurch, Auckland and Wellington. Organized with the collaboration of distinguished Italian experts in the field, here in New Zealand, these events aim to explore the role of design and architecture in fostering social cohesion and inclusivity. Thanks to the perspective of institutions such as the University of Auckland, New Zealand Institute of Architects, Architectural Designers New Zealand and Smart Christchurch, as well as prestigious examples of local projects from well-established local studios. Working towards a better life is a defining feature of Italian design and architecture. Many illustrious Italian artists, architects and designers strive to foster inclusion, equality and accessibility through their work. However, today's widening global inequalities demand a plurality of perspective and interpretative approaches in which the worlds of art and design play a crucial role. We hope that today's discussion will encourage a more inclusive and sustainable idea of design and inspire a mutually beneficial cooperation between Italy and New Zealand also in this important field. Thank you very much.
My name's Andrew Barry. I'm one of the teaching staff here at the University of Auckland. To say thank you to Jib, who are really profoundly generous supporter of Fast Forward and of the school. There are just lots of things that we could not do at the school without the support of Jib. We're going to hear from Joe Walsh and Felicity Brenchley from ΑKAU. I first became aware of their work. I was involved with an exhibition at Object Space which was around alternative kind of models of practice, and they came and participated in that exhibition and showed their super interesting work. Lots of folk will have heard of them following their awarding of the NZA's John Sutherland Award for Practice, which really acknowledged their committed and innovative and kind of profoundly generous local model of practice, which I'm super interested to hear some more about tonight. So welcome, Joe and Felicity.
Kia ora koutou and buonasera, our Italian friends. Before we start, we'd like to mihi and acknowledge the Italian Embassy who've suggested the theme Inequalities, How to Mend Fractures of Humanity. Also, Carolina Izzo. It's really lovely to be here this evening. To the Party School of Architecture and Planning, Andrew and Paula, for asking us to participate in tonight's lecture. Thank you very much. And we'd also like to acknowledge the New Zealand Institute of Architects and Jib for supporting Fast Forward lecture series. Finally, thank you to everyone that's here tonight and has come out to listen to us.
At the end of 2024, ΑKAU turned 10. This milestone gave us the chance to slow down, pause and reflect on the journey that brought us here and the path that lies ahead. As part of this reflection, we revisited some of the special kaupapa we've been involved in over the years. A series of po whenua e morewa, reminding whānau to be kaitiaki of their awa and te taio. An outdoor basketball court inspired by Niho Taniwha. Bright, bold flags lining the main street of Kaikohe, designed by Tamariki, representing Ko Waiaho, Who Am I? At the centre of all these projects, each one returned mana to the people, enabling them to shape their own futures. They are acts of whakaora, restoration, of place, of identity, of equity. Over the course of this kōrero, we are going to share some of these projects and learnings with you. But first, the story starts in Kaikohe.
Descended from our formidable tūpuna Rahiri, Ngāpuhi is Aotearoa's largest iwi, with 184,470 people identifying as Ngāpuhi in the 2023 census. Ngāpuhi has a large young demographic, with over half, 56.6% of Ngāpuhi being under the age of 30. However, not all Ngāpuhi live within the tribal boundaries. The general population for Northland suggests that there are 72,000 people living in Te Taitokoro, and 50% of them are Māori. As shown on the map in front of us, which presents Te Whare Tapu o Ngāpuhi, these are our main maunga of our region, known as Te Taitokoro. We have 110 hapu and 200 marae that make up the social fabric of Ngāpuhi. Ngāpuhi were the first to sign He Whakaputanga, the Declaration of Independence of the United Tribes, and in 1835, and Te Tiriti o Waitangi in 1840. In New Zealand, in the New Zealand multiple deprivation index of multiple deprivation, Northland measured 19 out of 20 in a list of the most deprived areas and regions in Aotearoa, with 1 being the least deprived and 20 being the most deprived. The index measures employment, income, education, access to services, crime, health and housing. For this presentation, we will focus mainly on Kaikohe, where our office is. I was lucky enough to be born in Kaikohe, ko Joe Walsh tōku ingoa, no Kaikohe aho. Kaikohe is known as Te Pō Te Wheke, the heart of the octopus, with our maunga, Pūtahi, raising approximately 300 metres above sea level. We are situated on State Highway 12. Tahiki Road heads out towards Taitamatane, the west coast, and Hokianga, where Kupe, the great navigator, landed from Hawaii, discovering Aotearoa. And down the other end, out on Guy Road, towards Taitamawahine, the east coast, and Waitangi, the place where our founding document, Te Tiriti o Waitangi, was signed. We're famous for people like Hone Heke, and Portia Woodman, amongst others. Once a thriving town where the Queen stayed over in 1953, we are now a place that needs a lot of love and investment. The population of Kaikohe and Hokianga is 16,185, with 68% of the population being Māori. To reflect on the numbers that I gave you previously in regard to deprivation, this town, Kaikohe, is full of amazing, resilient, intelligent and passionate people who work very hard for their community and whānau. It's a privilege to be part of the social fabric of Kaikohe and work for āKAU.
A decade ago, Anahera Maya, Ruby Watson and myself, Felicity Brenchley, began āKAU as a group of friends with architecture and design backgrounds. We simply wanted to make a positive impact in the world through our work. We had a vision of being a catalyst for change in Kaikohe, using design processes to empower young people and giving them a voice in their community. And I'm proud to say that today āKAU does that and so much more. āKAU, the place where the land meets the sea. Just as marama causes the tides to rise and fall, at Te āKAU, the point where waves meet the whenua, there's a build-up of mauri, energy. If we can harness this energy, the coming together of people and ideas, we can make magic happen. āKAU is a not-for-profit design practice founded on the belief that design can uplift the Māori order of people and communities. Over the years, we've developed several ways in which we achieve this. Our papamahi, creative hands-on workshops, are a critical part of our design processes that engage whānau in real projects. Moving beyond community consultation to a truly collaborative approach that benefits participants as well as project outcomes. We advocate for tangible outcomes from every papamahi process. These visible outcomes give our communities hope where previously they have been promised so many things that were not delivered. Our role in ensuring this happens includes connecting community organisations to the right funders, finding pūtea to implement our own community projects, or hustling, mucking in and doing it ourselves. At the heart of our kaupapa are our tamariki. Every decision we make should be made with and for our mokopuna. They have the most to gain or not from the actions we take now. We ensure that tamariki are present and participating in these spaces. Being involved in the design of tangible projects allows Tamariki to dream, visualise and express their whakaaro. When they see their ideas brought to life, they're learning to be innovative and be confident, just like their tupuna before them. They're learning more about themselves, they're hearing their own stories, they're doing that alongside their kaumātua and their whānau. We're also looking for ways to help Tai Tamariki see themselves as designers and support them into design industry and creative pathways. We have a few kaupapa to share with you that help to communicate the value of designing in this way and the outcomes of this process.
In 2019, as part of the Twin Coast Discovery work with Waka Kotahi, ISMIS and the Provincial Growth Fund, āKAU was given the opportunity to speak with Tai Tamariki in Kaikohe. These conversations revealed that they did not see themselves in the town that they lived and that they wanted more colour and to see te reo Māori, their own language, in the environment around them. Engaging with 4 schools, Kaikohe East, Kaikohe West, Kaikohe Intermediate and Kura Kaupapa Māori or Kaikohe, we had the privilege of engaging 59 Tai Tamariki and papamahi. As mentioned earlier, papamahi is our design process and a series of activities that guide creative outputs. In the initial activity, Tamariki explored kupu, words, and whakatauki, proverbs, that resonated from within their kura vision statements. They developed a deep understanding of the information held in their language, its connected history and meaning. Using identified kupu, we discussed how we could communicate them spatially in community while exploring materiality, colour, topography, form, shape and patterns. While the papamahi stage and engagement with Tai Tamariki formed the concept for the installation, it was necessary to engage various other artists to work with us and develop the project further. In stage 2, while translating the ideas developed in papamahi workshops, we transformed concepts into unique styles and art forms. This allowed our team to showcase the full potential of the designs. Our crew working on this were Catherine Griffith, Kyra Clark and Natasha Nikora, all independent graphic designers. In stage 3, we worked with local artist Bobby McDonald to transfer the graphics from developed design, installing them on buildings in Broadway. Broadway is the main street of Kaikohe. This was a huge job with heaps of learnings and Bobby did some excellent work. These tangible outcomes can now be seen in the main streetscape of Kaikohe. Our Tai Tamariki are very proud of the work that they did. Through this kaupapa, Tai Tamariki experienced developing design using expressive skills. They built meaningful multi-generational relationships and gained new knowledge of their own self and cultural identity. Through its presence in the streetscape, there was a realisation that Hokainga Māori were not reflected in the environment around them, historically, culturally or architecturally. Te reo Māori on the streets has opened up our haupuri to the opportunity of contributing to their town and civic projects, allowing them to voice their aspirations, telling stories and influencing projects. The project was a huge boost for our community. It created and led out by our Tai Tamariki and contributed to the Māori order of the town. It was a great catalyst for change in attitudes and understanding and the ability for design to put people first and for those that design to deliver reflecting public spaces. The project was featured in a nationally important exhibition alongside some exceptional and accomplished Māori designers. In 2024, each of Te Reo Māori on the Streets installations were portrayed in a banner series, produced and featured in Pohiwa Pahiwa at Object Space in Tamaki Makaurau. The show was grounded in whakapapa and presented fundamental differences in how design practice is approached within Te Ao Māori and for whom it is in service, in this case our Tamariki and Hapori and Kaikohe. The banners spelt out Taonga Tuku Ikorā, Taonga tuku ihoa means broadly to care for and grow the treasures, knowledge, culture and art practices handed down to us from our tūpuna.
Te Puna Reo o Mangatangaroa is Aotearoa's first full immersion te reo Māori, fully accessible early childhood centre. Guided by the voices of her tūpuna, our client, Clara, was inspired to transform her own whānau home into this truly inclusive learning environment. Her son, Mangatangaroa, a Tamariki, a superpowered tamaiti, needed a place that not only catered to his unique health needs, but also provided a kaupapa Māori environment in which to thrive. There was no such place for him in Kaikohe. Our role was to help translate this dream into reality, to make the most of the limited resources available, to transform the existing whare and surrounding property. The ΑΚΑU creative process connects papamahi participants to the stories of the whenua to which they belong. This papamahi was held with whānau who would be attending the puna, and many of their concepts were inspired by the hokianga, as this is where Mangatangaroa whakapapas to. This concept looked at integrating textured surfaces into the outdoor areas so that tamariki in wheelchairs could experience sensory shifts as their wheels rolled over different surfaces. These whānau concepts were then developed by our design team and built with the help of whānau. 3 archways were inspired by the 3 waves Nuku Tawhiti arrived into the Hokianga harbour upon. They were shaped by the concept of tamataiki, woven balls, often remnants of hinake used for fishing. Once their life as hinake was over, they would be put into rākau, which then become elements for tamariki to play and learn within, nurturing the next kairaranga, or weavers, and creating immersive learning experiences. Part of the magic of this kaupapa was whānau and hapori coming together to build parts of the project and bringing their skills and mātauranga to share. Whānau collected natural resources from the ngahere. They made these kupinga and to add to the archways, and the locally made timber reels are another sensory item bringing sound into the space. These images show some of the interior spaces. Simple sensory elements helped it to become a whare kōrero, a space used to teach stories, counting and colours. Often we take on youth designers who learn skills through supporting us on our projects. Many tai tamariki in Te Tai Tokoro don't want to leave home to study, so this 1-year-long program allows them to stay close at home while pursuing their passions. 2 of our youth designers harness their graphic design skills in this project, and their work is evident in the colourful ceilings of the space. This is a humble project, yet the Māori within the whare is immense. The whare is called Te Here o Te Aroha, the house built by love. This kaupapa is a true testament to the power of hapori to create their own solutions. The community, with the direction of Clara and her whānau, fundraised and pushed to build this space for those tamariki who are often excluded and have nowhere to go. Clara says it best when she says, "If we make it good for tamariki, we make it good for everyone, and no one misses out." We now take that message through every kaupapa. If you're interested to learn more, the TV series Superkura on Māori TV documented Mangatangaroa's story, which is not only beautiful but really shows the power of working together in community.
Over the past 2 years, we've worked with 4 kura, 3 of which are full immersion Reo Māori schools in Te Tai Tokoro, to create strategic property plans. The projects came about due to a real change maker within the Ministry of Education and Property Management, who saw the opportunity to create kura-driven master plans. The MOE are often responding to critical issues, including leaking roofs and the need for additional classrooms as roles grow. This potentially means that investment is made by reaction, decisions for placement agreed by convenience, and the foresight for development in a timeline of only 5 years, maybe 10 in some cases. Through this approach, we were able to think longer term, creating the opportunity for aspirations and really exploring the potential of the whenua around the schools. The first session, our usual tamariki engagement, where we explored creative conceptual ideas But the real power came from the second and third and fourth sessions, where we worked with hapori community and the boards. We tapped into strategic thinking and wish list of the board and allowed for site analysis and connecting of surrounding environments to be carried out by those whom knew all about the floodplains and the rivers surrounding wahi tapu and important cultural sites. This was always incredibly rewarding. Our job was to present a drawing that really represented them and their visions for their education facility, something they'd previously never been able to visualise or been asked. The power of the drawing gave the kura something physical to debate and discuss. This also gave them a way of seeing how things were connected and consider how projects might be funded from other avenues outside the MOE. Each kura was different, with their own set of immediate needs. Te kura o te āKAU is the second most northern kura in Aotearoa, New Zealand. They had a roll of 70 students. To play as other sports teams, they would have to travel a minimum of an hour and a half to participate in inter-school competition. This kura, when we were introduced to them, had been teaching their senior students in the corridors, and their gym floor had gaping holes and rotting boards. They needed to refocus and look at where their funds could be spent for the greater need and consideration of opportunities for extending their education programs. Due to the uniqueness of their location, this is like only maybe half an hour from the very top of Aotearoa, so we're thinking Cape Reinga. Due to the uniqueness of their location, the ability to host others was central to their needs. A gym facility became central to their master plan solution, along with a food tech kitchen, which could support this. Te Taumata o Pangaru had experienced a major flood in the 90s. The kura needed to be moved 100 metres up their land to higher ground. The buildings they were teaching in were totally below par, with creaky doors, leaking roofs and asbestos. At the time of the flood, in an absolute crisis, they were teaching in local marae and not able to make great strategic decisions. They made do with what they had and what they were given. This process, which we're now moving through and it's in its second year, has allowed them to figure out how best to use the land around them. Working in the process of design has really shifted and lifted some trauma from the original experience. They are applying matauranga Māori to the design of their Māori school within a Māori education system. The outcomes of the plan had taken a lot of dedication and discussion. They had asked the question, is this really the best option for our tamariki? And in response realised that they could do better. I think we've done the process maybe two and a half times now, and we're now in the closing stages of this work, and the proposal will go to funding in June. It is exciting to know any decisions are the best outcomes for the tamariki, and this is agreed with all of the stakeholders. Both projects are about building trust and building relationships. Having a direct fee agreement with the school was the first step towards this. Also disengaging from MOE deadlines. It was necessary for them to complete their process of review in their own time and provide feedback with confidence.
Over the past decade, we've refined our processes and offerings significantly so that we're spending our time on mahi where we can add the most value and have the greatest impact. Our focus is on engaging whānau, hapu and iwi at the start of projects, using our papamahi process to develop conceptual narratives and giving form to this during the concept design stage. On larger projects, we partner with other architecture practices who bring their skills and experience to deliver high-quality built outcomes, typically on tight budgets and timeframes. Our role is also to ensure that the community voice continues to be heard throughout the detailed design and construction stages, in particular facilitating the incorporation of mahi toi elements in collaboration with local artists. Papahawaiki is a destination sports hub in Kaikohe. Stories of the site and people who have once occupied it are woven into the architectural form, landscaping and surface patterning. all conceptualised with community members through our papamahi design approach. The beautifully carved rako at the entrance were created by Toi Ngāpuhi artists. And we developed the design of this building through to resource consent, and then team architects took over the project and did an incredible job of staying true to the original concept as they documented it for construction despite the challenges with the budget, which were kind of reflected on the interior. Most recently, we've been included as part of the architectural team for the new Kaikohe library, together with Eclipse Architecture and GMC Architects. Positioned on the main street of Kaikohe, this building will be a hub for the community, creating a safe place for Tamariki, Tai Tamariki and whānau to gather. With the obvious potential this project has for positive impact, our client agreed it was critical that community voice was included from the outset. Our role included extensive community engagement, as well as pulling together information gathered during previous community consultation processes that we undertook. And we synthesised this information to create a shared vision for this project and what it should become. The concepts for this kaupapa are based upon kōrero shared generously by the local hapu. The design has been inspired by whakaaro developed by Tamariki and Hapori during the papamahi process and elevated by the valued contributions of Matua Alan Wihongi, a local artist. Vertical whenua, strands, wrap around the building expressing the concept of te ahutanga, the sacred connection from ngā whetū, the stars, through the building to the whenua. The transmission of knowledge between people through these threads is experienced throughout the building in the spatial forms and the activities within. Central to the design is Te Ahi Komo, the beacon of light that radiates from the centre of the kaupapa. This light was brought to Aotearoa on Te Marama Waka and refers to the smouldering fire that is kept alight on the whenua, using coverings of ash and earth. Te Ahi Komo explains that every person has a burning fire within, the same fire that our tupuna had burning 1,000 years ago. We are interconnected through the fire with our tupuna, just in a different time frame. We are connected through whakapapa, tracing our tupuna back, and they all here, we're living here on the land. A shout out to Zali from Eclipse, who may be here tonight, who created the renders that you can see. And the rest of the Eclipse and GMC team for ensuring these concepts will become a reality. We're hoping that this building will be completed by the end of next year. It's always a pleasure to work with other architects who bring positive energy and passion into their mahi. ΑΚΑU exists as a thread that binds community and design together. Our role is not to compete, rather it is to collaborate, to bring together people and ideas, to weave narratives into form. And we hope in doing so that we inspire others to become a similar thread in their own community.
In the last 10 years, we've worked hard to bring our community's voice to the forefront of our mahi. Because of where we live and the challenges we have around us, we are fighting for any scrap of social equity we can get. Here are some things we believe help us in our kaupapa. Being an advocate and catalyst for change means you are holding the pen for your community. Empower them to have opinions and think deeply about what they need and its potential. Take time to review and discuss options. Fight for their ideas. Establish real relationships and trust. This is going back again and again, not a one-off. They will soon catch on to what needs to happen. Understand the environment around you, really understand how it functions and why it's like that. What it is, reflect this in what you design. To create effective innovative solutions and solve challenges, listen and evolve the ideas and aspirations of the people connected to the community. They are the stakeholders. Working with mokopuna in the design process has many advantages, including the generation of new ideas, establishing community buy-in, and the ability to include multi-generational input. Working with mokopuna removes politics and agendas. If you design for inclusivity with tamariki and differently abled whānau, you make it good for everybody. And finally, communities need to see tangible outcomes and reflections of themselves in their environment. To close the space today, we would like to take you back to our Te Reo Māori on the Streets kaupapa. In the final part of the project, working with Tūkaha Milne and our beautiful late whaemere Taylor Tualomo, a waiata was created with the Tamariki, taking the kupu they'd developed through the project. Tapawai Ōrāhiri is another outcome of our process. It's an epu, or a vessel, that celebrates and remembers the mahi of the Tai Tamariki at this time.
Fantastic. So many interesting projects and kind of threads to follow. Fantastic to think of a design practice as a thread, as something that binds things together rather than something that's kind of producing objects. So again, another lightning introduction. First Light Studio, if you're anything like me, you will have first heard that name in relation to a project where a bunch of staff and students from Victoria University did an amazing thing, a super sustainable house that was built on the Washington Mall. It didn't sort of sound quite, but that's what happened, right? Yeah, and brought glory upon Victoria University and the New Zealand architecture scene. And more recently, they've done a thing, if you're anything like me, you're kind of looking around at the world thinking, I wish I'd done that project. And the project that in recent years that I really wish I'd done is the beautiful church renovation project that First Light did, that won a national award from the NZIA last year, and that I hope we're going to hear a little about today. So, what's that? There we go. That's it. We could get a little taste. So join me in welcoming First Light Studio. Thank you very much.
Well, kia ora koutou. Ka mihi o kia koe Andrew, ka mihi kia koutou ngā wahine o ākau. ko tangata o te tiriti hau, and ko Nick tako ingoa. Welcome everyone, thanks for having us here in Auckland. I'm Nick, this is Ben, we're two of the founding directors of First Light Studio. As Andrew alluded to, it feels a little bit like a second home coming back to university where we were kind of born from, although Auckland sort of feels like the kind of being behind enemy lines a little bit. I want to say thanks, of course, to Auckland Uni and to the Italian Embassy. We're looking forward to taking this back to Wellington, and I hear there's pizza there as well, so I'm looking forward to that. And of course, Jib as well for having us. I wanted to bring our team here as well. This is us back in Wellington, because I think the relevance of community. We wouldn't be here celebrating what we do today without the people here. I think like a community, everyone plays their role and plays their part. So I just wanted to acknowledge everyone that's up in this photo as a part of this presentation today. And community is fundamentally about connection, I think, and I thought we could play a really quick game just to introduce First Light. I'm just going to stand here for 3 slides, that's all I've got, and I'm going to pass over to Ben to talk about the interesting stuff. But I thought first I'd just introduce First Light, so you've kind of got some context to where we came from, for those of you that don't know us. So that little game is called High Low Buffalo, and it's talking about giving you opportunity to connect with someone in a meaningful way so that they can connect back with you and give you something to talk about. So I'm going to give you that today for us, and then if you want to talk to us at any other point in time, there's some threads to talk to. But the first lighthouse was our high. Andrew already alluded to it. I think it was our highest of high 14 years ago. In 2011, this house was built. It really is the DNA of who we are today. This house is small, it's smart, it's sustainable, high performance, healthy. It's connected to its place, and it was designed to tell a story of what New Zealand architecture was, or what New Zealand architecture could be, and what our homes could look like on the world stage. And it was lauded and celebrated overseas, and we achieved a podium finish at the Olympics of Architecture in Washington, DC. And I wanted to share this picture because it shows how I think how excited and how passionate we should be and can be about architecture and our houses. And I even saw that before with Jo in sharing some of her kaupapa around Tamariki and the mokopuna it serves. It's really meaningful. But I think with every high comes a low, and our low was coming back to New Zealand, and in between the excitement of kind of or the anxiousness of starting a practice off the back of the last recession was the reality that the New Zealand housing environment was not great, and is still not great. So kind of all the excitement of one successful house was not enough to kind of outweigh the weight of hundreds of thousands of bad ones. And this was really what lit the fire for us as a practice, as practicing architects, to really want to make our work and architecture itself a vehicle for change in the industry. And how could that be? So that's our mahi, and that's what really gets us going, is the desire to make change and the want to make change. And we've seen what one good house can do, so how can we take that same kind of learning across a whole bunch of other houses and more than one at a time. And so something interesting about us is we weren't just business partners, but we became neighbours in 2011. So 2021, but just before COVID, we thought we'd take on a house building project to try and challenge some of the, challenge our own beliefs or put them into practice, I suppose, kind of challenge the notion of community and bring down fences. And we had all the challenges of building through COVID, but between our families, we also brought 4 little mokopuna into the world, and Ben and I's relationship, I think, grew from pulling down the fences and growing together, and our eldest boys became best friends quite quickly. And I think we really learnt some valuable lessons, and I think, I acknowledge it's from a position of privilege, but I learnt some real lessons around, housing and community and how we can build for each other. So I'm going to leave that there and pass over to Ben, and he's going to talk about the the really exciting things. But again, just want to say thanks for having us, and yeah, an honour to share the stage with you guys.
Great, thank you. That was pretty much 3 minutes, so you did pretty well. So I'll try and do the same. Kia ora koutou, thanks for having us, It's a real privilege to be here and with so many people turn up with the rain. We've got 2 projects to share with you today, 2 quite different projects, but build on the beliefs that Nick mentioned early that came out of that first project. The first is for a community housing provider called Te Ahuru Moai, based in Porirua. Te Ahuru Moai is the largest Māori-owned community housing provider in the nation and is committed to playing a part in transforming their housing stock, which at the moment doesn't look good. So the current situation in Porirua and Te Tahi Bay for Te Ahuru Moai is that they manage 922 homes on behalf of the government, of which 811 of them are in poor condition. So that's 88% of these people living in homes that look like this, that are in a dire state of repair, which is pretty scary. And if we're talking about fractures of humanity, this is definitely one of them. And the lack of access to a fundamental human need in good housing is a real problem. These houses are located or scattered across Porirua, so mostly in Te Tahi Bay, but also Linden and across in eastern Porirua as well. So Te Ahuru Moai have been working on this for a long time, and as a part of their collective mahi put together this vision framework, which is a really bold vision for the future. And it's not just about social housing, but a much bigger vision to kind of create community for their whānau. This was prepared by the team at Te Ahuru Moai and Isthmus, and we came in after this to try and apply some of these ideas and concepts with the housing. So the start of that vision statement talks about whaia te iti kahurangi ki te tuahu koe me he maunga taitai. Seek the treasure that you value most dearly, and if you bow your head, let it be a lofty mountain. So this vision framework is Te Ahuru Moai's lofty mountain that they're working towards. The vision framework talks a lot about the Māori model of health, about te whare tapa whā, and there's a lot of ideas within this belief system or value system that relate to architecture. Things like taha tinana, about physical well-being, about creating homes that are accessible for everybody. Taha hinenaro, about mental and emotional well-being, things like making sure our homes have access to daylight and natural ventilation. Taha whānau, about our homes being designed for everyone, not just 1 and 2 bedroom homes, but for whānau and for multiple generations. Taha wairua, about spiritual well-being, that kind of intangible thing that we feel in a home, and that's where our memories are made. And all of that, the 4 walls of the whenua being, of the wharenui being grounded in the whenua, in the land. So this kind of led to a bunch of key moves about knowing your neighbour. So this was about creating community, stitching together Eastern and West Porirua, stitching together some of the divides that are evident within the community. Feeling the sea breeze, experiencing the moana, being connected back to the water and the sea, which is such an important part of the land. Hearing the call of the birds, so connecting to the maunga, to whitireia, bringing native birds and wildlife back into the cities. Sow seeds and grow community. So focus on density as a way to help create affordable housing and create community close to walkable neighbourhoods or to public transport. And create a home, not a house, which is kind of where we come in, and really about creating healthy homes that are comfortable to live in and warm and dry, but also joyful and nice spaces to grow up. As we started to dive deeper, this begins to be things like, in terms of knowing your neighbour, creating shared space or creating opportunities for urban play and education. Feel the sea breeze relates to self-sufficiency and sustainable living, or hear the birds call creating livable and safe streets for our children to grow up in. And then in terms of the house, creating a place that's got good physical comfort and smarter, more sustainable design. But all of this has kind of brought up the idea about it's about people first. Quite often we find, as architects, we often come after the big master plan has been done. But it's funny because we think about designing a building with the idea about living in it. It's about people. But so often we're thinking so high before we think about actually the building itself. So when we're asked to come on by Te Aroha Moe to design a housing typology and apply that to a few sites, we started with the house itself. So he aha te mea nui o te he tangata, he tangata, he tangata. What is most important in this world is people, people, people. And sadly, this is kind of what we're dealing with, and you probably see a lot of this in Auckland. In terms of medium density housing, you get repetitive units that are kind of stacked next to each other. Very little connection to the outdoors, very little connection to each other, very little community space, and a real lack of kind of social cohesion. So when we think about our home and the master planning of these sites, we wanted to start with what was important and outlined in that vision framework by Te Aroha Moe. So we started with the ground, that these homes were connected to the outdoors. So what we've created here is a housing typology. This living and dining room of every house is connected to the outdoors on both sides. So this is really helpful for us when we're master planning a site because it can face multiple directions and you can get access to the sun and the outdoors. Thinking about taha whānau, about family well-being, that every home has an accessible ground floor bedroom and an accessible bathroom. So that gives flexibility for the occupants and the owners that live in it, and a large kitchen. So the idea about dining and entertaining family and friends as being a really important part of living. We didn't want to sacrifice that even in a one-bedroom home. Separate toilet and separate laundry. These spaces are meant to be flexible, so we have spaces that can, curtains that can be pulled across to create additional sleeping space, or for a tangi where it gives you spiritual well-being that's separate from the dining and kitchen space. But trying to think about how you would actually occupy and live in this house in a wide variety of different ways. So that becomes our one-bedroom house, and then out of that we build a range of typologies that use that ground floor layout as its fundamental base. So you have a one-bedroom 70 square metre, and then you, for the two-bedroom, add a second bedroom to the end, which could be a carer's suite, or replace the toilet with a set of stairs that go up to a third level, or a second level, so you've got 3 bedrooms, and so on, 4, 5 and 6 bedroom homes. So by creating a repetitive typology like that allows us to kind of master plan sites relatively quickly and do feasibility studies without massive upfront costs, because we can start to apply it, but with the confidence that the homes that we're designing and putting in there are designed for people first. And then applying that to the architectural form, so it's broken into 2 forms that alternate between a monopitch roof and a gable roof, so that you can really simply and easily put these components together in a wide variety of different ways and get a wide variety of different urban forms and urban outcomes. So no 2 sites are the same, but you're still using a repeating set of parts and components. And so that allows us to potentially prefabricate some of these buildings. They're set up so that it could be modular as well, so you could actually build them as full modules. But you're getting that kind of customization through the design iteration, and by applying different materials and different colour palettes you can get a wide variety of different outcomes. So the first site that we look to apply this to is in Te Tahi Bay in Porirua. So this is a classic kind of state house that we see all over the country. This area is particularly bad. Since we started working on this project, there's been 2 arsons and a murder up there, and it's a really dangerous place to go. It's a place there's a lot of social unrest, potentially because of the way that it's designed and the typology of homes that are in there. The majority of them are one-bedroom state houses that are joined together with very little family homes. So the people that are living in there are often isolated, often have mental health challenges, and so you get this kind of melting pot of people who are struggling all in the same spot with no real mix. This is a particularly important area for Ngāti Toa and Te Tahi Bay, with Whitireia Maunga just nearby and the coast surrounding it. As a master plan, we bring in these ideas that we talked about at the beginning, so feel the sea breeze, connecting to the sea, focusing on the original awa that ran through the site originally. The idea about trying to create community spaces within the urban design so that bird life can come in, and green space. And then from an urban design perspective, connecting to what's there at the moment and connecting to it to create community. One of the houses on our site actually was burnt down, and it wasn't the development manager. So this kind of gave an opportunity really to test the idea, and so we master planned it using the ideas that we'd developed, focusing on larger family homes. So the majority of the homes that we're putting in there are 3, 4, 5 and 6 bedrooms, especially in stage 1, to try and implement change, and then in the later stages bringing back the 1 and 2 bedroom homes in different forms. So that you end up with a mix of different typologies. And all of this won't just be social housing, so there'll be a mix of private homes within it. So you get a mix of a demographic within the communities as well. So we've just got building consent for that first stage there, and we have a contractor nominated to start. So this stage is about making change in the area, and then we'll bring in the community spaces later. And then switching to a completely different project and process. This is the St Hilda's Church, which was renovation and extension to an existing church in Island Bay in Wellington. This is what it looked like when we first got the job. So a fairly unmonumental brick facade that was earthquake prone, and I think when the clients approached us, they had 6 months before they had to leave because it had been red stickered as earthquake prone. One of the reasons that it was earthquake prone was that there's a bus stop right here, so the brick facade would fall outward and endanger the public. So the first thing we did was engage a structural engineer to rig up some tension wires, which you can see in this photo, so that in the event of an earthquake it falls into the church and not outward, and that gave us a couple of extra years to do the project. And the parishioners had to put their faith in God, and that they did. But you can see that the space was pretty uninspiring, very closed off from the parade. This is a very main road in Island Bay, not very inviting. It was a dwindling parish with a small base. When the church was first designed, though, by Frederick de Jersey-Cleur, it had a grand vision. So this is actually the church when it was first designed, and had a steeple and was all brick, but through some value engineering, all they ended up with was the one brick wall at the front, which ironically was the bit that was earthquake prone in the end. So the bishop was a far-seeing man. He built and landed the parish with £800 debt, but I'm sure he did the right thing. We gave you the nave, the only external wall brick, the framework of solid jara on concrete, and the heart of matai. And it's the timber bit that is the most special part of this church. Over the years, it's had a lot of renovations, a lot of extensions, and quite a disjointed kind of arrangement. And the church wasn't actually used that much, maybe because of the earthquake proneness, but most of the activities happened within the hall. Our brief was to consider the sacredness of the building as a Christian church and bring that back. And that, with that comes focusing on beauty and quality and longevity and the materiality. Bringing in natural light and illumination. They were kind of tired of the glary stained glass window at one end. Retain and enhance the historic features, which for us was the timber part of the church, the Jara portal frames. Evoke a sense of warmth, create a consistent language, which is difficult when you've had so many renovations. And design for the future and creating a church that was open and welcoming to the wider community of Island Bay. So it wasn't just closed off, but could be opened up for a wide range of different events. So it was quite a tricky process to work through, but we ended up deciding to remove that monumental brick facade, the earthquake-prone piece. And it wasn't a decision that we took lightly, and it was a decision that was got quite a lot of negative feedback from some of the public. During construction, we got a little bit of vandalism on our sign, which was in a little blue ballpoint pen, which said, "You woke heritage vandals." In the end, the bishop found who it was, and it was a little old man who lived just around the corner. But, you know, it does, places like these do hold a special place in people's heart who live in Island Bay, so it was not something to take lightly, and it meant there's a lot of pressure in whatever we put back. But by taking it away gave us the opportunity to actually extend the building out towards the road and create some more space inside. We mimicked the shape of the existing Jara beams, but reintroduced strong glue laminated timber. We brought in a facade of glass that was broken into 5 segments to represent the original old stained glass window which was there, and emphasised that timber weatherboard church, the classic kind of timber church that we see all around the country, and brought that forward. Had a glass facade, and then in the front introduced what we called was a veil, which was the screen, which was to provide some shade from that western sun, provide privacy for the space of worship, but also provide openness so that you could see through it, and it was inviting and warm and welcoming to the community, and also something that was inspiring that the community could have involvement in. And that could also glow as a beacon in the night time as well. So to design the veil, we ran a series of design workshops with the community in the evenings. It started by just talking about what people want in the how they felt about their place, about tapu te ranga, about the people, and about the spiritual practice of being a part of a church community like this. We got them to sketch, so this is some of the sketches, and there was a lot of discussion around nature and the idea of the church being a wayfinding device in people's lives. There was motifs of repetition, of the location on the Te Awaroa Trail, of nature, and as this developed, we kind of evolved this story that was based around the idea of wayfinding, the act of finding one's way to a particular place in navigation. And so you've got the metaphor of the church, you've got the maritime community in Island Bay, and so the pattern on the veil is broken down like this. So you've got the land, the whenua. So Island Bay sits in between two maunga, Tawatawa and Mount Albert, and then Taputeranga in the middle, out in the bay. The motif changes from a triangular shape up to kind of more of a Gothic shape at the top. But at the bottom, you've got the importance of the ocean, in our lives, and then the sky and the clouds, which are particularly important in Wellington with the wind and the movement that they create, and then the sky and the stars as important wayfinding devices in our lives as we look up. And then together you transform what was a tired, unsafe brick facade into something that is hopefully inspiring to the community on the parade in Wellington, that glows at night time and during the day. So a space that inside was dark and dreary and uninspiring to a place of worship that is flexible for all sorts of different events. There was a lot of care, a lot of community engagement. This is just one of them. So, for example, the veil parts of the laser cutting was donated by a local company. There was people who donated their time and materials. These door handles were made out of some of the jara that was missed, that was taken from one of the arches that was removed when we removed the brick. And then there was also the brick doors, but these are hand whittled door handles as you go in, and then this is a new door made out of the existing jara to replicate the old. So lots of really neat moments like that in the building as well. But Mark has noticed a massive change in in the use of the space. It's now used for concerts, for weddings. He says since completing the renovation, we've greatly increased the use of the main church space. We now host resident associate meetings, Toastmasters, community kindy groups, space newborn support, events, art exhibitions, open days and more. We also started hosting gigs, and weddings have returned after a long hiatus. So previously the hall was the main place, but now the church, the place of worship, is actually the place where people gather and the community come together. Thank you.